The Fluke is a soft plastic lure that anybody can use to catch fish with. It is a great lure to represent not just only bait fish, but also your panfish as well. And today in this video, we're going to give you guys a couple unique tips to help you go out and catch more fish on the Fluke.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Bass Fishing Declassified, and really appreciate you guys taking a little time to check the video out. And got some good info for y'all today. I'm going to show you my favorite way to rig and fish a Zoom Super Fluke, which is one of the top post-spawn lures that you can fish. It's really good in the month of May, and I rig it and fish it a little bit different, so we're going to go over that here real quick. Now, first of all, here's how most people rig a Fluke. They use an EWG hook, you know, just a rig, Texas rig, and run out the back like this, and the points point into the back to make it weedless. And this is how the majority of people fish a Fluke, and they fish the Fluke ever since it's been around. And it works good like that. I mean, it's an effective way to catch them. But the problem with this, guys, is I found out that I missed a lot of bass that hit this thing. A lot of times they'd come up and nip it and not get it. They'd get the tail. They'd come up and swirl on it and not get it. I'd get it and they'd lose them. They'd jump off. So I really experimented to try to come up with a different way to do it, and I came up with this technique about 10 years ago on my own. Show you guys how to do it. So first of all, you need a straight shank hook. Do not use the EWG. This is the Gamakatsu G Finesse heavy cover worm hook. This is a 3/0 hook, which is my favorite way. And the way that I do this is I'm going to show you. I'm going to thread this thing on the bottom here. So we're going to come in from the bottom, and the hook's going to come out on the bottom. So this is the tricky part. What you want to do is come in the top and see how the Fluke is open like that. You got to make sure that you come along the back as you're threading it down there. So just take your time and go right along that back coming up here, because you can't go too far down, because if you go too far down, you're gonna hit that opening there, which you don't want to do. So take your time, come down probably a little over about halfway down the Fluke, and then bring the hook point out in the opening there. So what it's going to look like is you're going to come out like this, and it's going to be, the hook is going to be on the bottom of the Fluke like this. So the next thing you want to do is you want to rig this thing with the head pointing down. Now this is very, very critical right here, because what happens with the head down is when you jerk it like this, it will cause the Fluke to dart down like that. It won't make it blow out on the top. If you take the Fluke and if you rig it and put the hook coming out the top, when you jerk it, it'll blow out of the water. But when you rig it like this, it runs perfect like this. It darts hard sideways underwater like that, and you can rig it and you can fish it super fast and super hard. So guys, try this, especially if you're open water. Put the straight shake hook in there, come in underneath like that, and you don't miss them when they get it. You got an exposed hook, they get it, you get them in the boat every time. So give it a try. I think you guys will help you all out. See ya.
If you're struggling to find productive areas on your lake, or are new to fishing and want to get pointed in the right direction about where to start fishing, head to our website, fishthemoment.com, and go to our lake breakdowns page. Here you'll find lake breakdowns from myself, Randy Blockett, and Matt Steffen. I focus on offshore breakdowns, Matt covers smallmouth, and Randy covers shallow water largemouth. These lake breakdowns provide 40 GPS waypoints that you can transfer straight to your fish finder. We give detailed area descriptions, the best conditions to fish each area, lure recommendations, and key strategies for the lake in general. We also give you a guide on how to transfer the waypoints straight to your fish finder, so you don't have to worry about the technology gap there. You can scroll through and find breakdowns for all 4 seasons of the year. And we have a lot of lakes here, so you probably will find most of the major lakes in this list already. However, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom and don't see your lake in one of the 4 seasons, you can also get a personal lake breakdown from either Randy or Matt at the bottom of the page, and you can pick any lake in the country and get 40 waypoints picked out personally by Matt or Randy. Check out our lake breakdowns at fishthemoment.com.
There's a lot of traditional ways to fish a Fluke. A Fluke is a great bait at generating strikes for both quality and numbers of fish, regardless of the bass species. You could be talking about spotted bass, smallmouth, largemouth, anywhere across the country. A Fluke is a great bait. But I want to tell you a new technique that's come out. If you pay attention to my channel, it's the Core Tackle Hover Rig, and what we're finding is it's a phenomenal way to fish a Fluke. what happens is when you rig this bait up and cast it out there, the bait falls in a gliding and spiraling motion, very similar to the tube, but it's a new way to fish the fluke. And one of the cool things about it is when you pick up on the line, instead of it coming directly at you, it will actually dart left and right. So a lot of anglers out there are fishing a hover rig, which is a hover strolling technique, on a fluke style bait to get a very erratic darting motion that can be fished at the top of the water column all the way down to the bottom of the water column, and it's generating a lot of strikes. Now for me, up in the North Country, I've been catching a lot of big smallmouth doing it. I love to fish a fluke that's a little bit unusual in color. In this case, we've got a fire tail. A different colored tail on a green pumpkin style bait can generate a lot of really aggressive strikes from smallmouth. If you haven't tried that, I really think you might want to give it a try, whether it's red, orange, chartreuse. Some of my favorite colors anytime I'm fishing a fluke on a hover rig. But guys, if you haven't tried this yet and you like to fish fluke style baits, definitely give the Core Tackle hover rig a try. I think you'll be really impressed in the darting motion that you get out of it and how well it generates reaction strikes from bass.
Okay guys, if you watch a lot of our videos and have seen me talk about the fluke in multiple videos, you've heard how I like to fish it during that post-spawn period. You heard about me talking about with the hover rig, as Matt just mentioned. Now I'm going to share with you guys how I like to fish the fluke from this summertime on. And guys, if you are down in Texas, you probably know about this. This is not a secret. You guys down there in Texas, for some reason, the fish really like it. But I have brought this from Texas into Arkansas and fishing it in the summer. And this will work across other regions of the country as well. But do not forget about putting the fluke on a Carolina rig. Guys, I love throwing the Carolina rig this time of year. Anybody can catch fish and use the Carolina rig. I know the hardest part, I think, with people with the Carolina rig is getting it set up. You have to have a swivel, you have to have a giant weight, you have to have 3 knots, a hook. And guys, I'm going to share with you just one little tip on how just to save your time to not have all that with the Carolina rig, unless if you want to have all of those options. But first is just having a Carolina rig pre-rig setup. I have one right here. Forgot the name of this company. I have a couple of these in the boat right here. As you see, it's just a pre-rig setup with your weight, a little swivel, 2 spots to tie the knot. 6 Sense has their own version as well. The one unique thing about 6 Sense is theirs is black. All the ones I've seen are this gold color, this brass color right here. So anyway, I have both of these, and I'll put the link to the description of these below. But guys, the thing about the fluke on the Carolina rig, I know for my part of the country, and here in Arkansas, and I know other parts as well, a lot of people put brush hogs on your Carolina rigs. They put worms at times, and you forget about the fluke. And the fluke mimics, like I said earlier, bait fish and panfish. And so it is a great way to go out and catch fish that other people are not using the fluke for. I like to fish the Carolina rig deep this time of year. I will fish it on them deep ridges, deep points, rock spots. I do not throw it in brush piles. Some people will. That's your preference. My preference is I'm not going to throw it in a brush pile. Just too much with the knots, too much extra line. I'm just not a fan of it. I'd rather throw another type of presentation in a brush pile. But on them rocks, the thing about a fluke, and I have a couple different flukes here, guys, that I will throw. I'm not just going to stick to one fluke. I love the Zoom fluke. Who does not? The Strike King fluke is good, but I will not put the Strike King caffeine shad on the Carolina rig because it's heavier and it will be more on the bottom. I want some flukes that will more float and move up as I'm bouncing my weight on the rocks, so these flukes will bounce up and get in the air and kind of float a little bit in the water. So as I mentioned earlier, I like the Zoom flukes. I love the big bites flukes as well. If I'm fishing that muddier water, I've been going to the white lately, but I will do a little thing to it. On this time of year, okay guys, this time of year when I'm Carolina rigging, I don't care if it's muddy water, clean water, I'm gonna dye the tail. Matt just mentioned on having a fluke up north with a red tail on that green pumpkin. Guys, down here, I will try other colors, but that chartreuse, man, is really my number one. I'm gonna dye these tails in that chartreuse for this time of year. Like I said, I don't care what color it is. It could be this white fluke right here. It could be this tilapia color right here, okay? So guys, whatever color I'm using, I'm going to dye it. If it's a shad color, I'm going to dye the tail. Okay, that's just one thing that I will do. And reason for that is it's just something a little different. It gives them fish just another thing that they can see if they are further away and entice them fish to bite. So as I mentioned earlier, I like the ridges, rock hard areas on my gear. Okay, so gear is something very, very important. I have 2 rods I will throw the Carolina rig with. I have my Denali Covert Light 7/6 medium heavy worm and jig rod. I also will throw it on my Denali Lithium Pro flipping rod. Okay, that flipping rod is more thicker or more tougher, thicker, you know, as it's a flipping rod, and sometimes I like that more heavier rod fishing a Carolina rig with these big weights, with the extra leader, just to help make sure you get that hook in them fish. Okay guys, for my line, I'll share this real quick. For my main line, I'm gonna use more heavier line, fluorocarbon, anywhere from 16 to 20 pounds. If I'm fishing in Texas, like I'm gonna go to Fork in a couple weeks, I'm gonna have some heavy line because them fish in Texas are bigger and meaner. Fishing some of these lakes in Arkansas, I'm okay with 16-pound line. Definitely if I'm fishing some of them cleaner lakes as well. But our fish here is not as big, and I just, you know, I'm not scared of them with that 16-pound line. My leader line now, this is where I'm still been playing with it. I always have been throwing that monofilament. I like mono because it floats, and I think it just gives that bait just an extra little float there in the water. But I've been trying fluorocarbon actually lately on my past couple fishing trips just to see if it makes a difference or not. And I've been listening to some professionals because last year in the Bassmaster Elite Series, the Carolina rig made a comeback. If you follow the Bassmaster, Carolina rig was a factor in some tournaments. And I was listening to some professionals, and most of those guys were mentioning fluorocarbon leader. That might have been because some of the lakes they're fishing or just most of them said their preference. But I know those pros have more to it than just saying, oh, it's my preference. Okay, they know more to it. They might not share their reasoning, or it just really is their preference. So anyway guys, don't forget about the Fluke on a Carolina rig, and we'll see you next time.